Hi there, it's Tara, she of all things transformational, transformational bodywork, transformational guidance coaching, and for our purposes here today, transformational yoga and tips for people who have a lot of upper body weight and or are larger chested and suffer from back and neck and shoulder pain. Although these techniques are good for anybody to do, but I'm going to show them with adaptations for people who are a little bit bigger in their trunks, in their upper bodies, and in their chests. So I will say, as a side note, most of the practices on my channel would be appropriate for you. Just they don't all have all the adaptations that might help the poses be more comfortable for you. But I have been a larger chested person, and so that is the lens through which I have practiced yoga for all these years of my life. So I have learned to adapt the poses for my body comfort, and I have managed to stave off a lot of neck and back discomfort due to practicing yoga. I've been practicing yoga since 1998, and I have very little back and neck pain that people who are larger chested typically do. And I give all props to a good yoga, an intelligent, keyword, intelligent yoga practice. And I've received a lot of body work, so don't hesitate to go out and visit your local massage therapist, but you need to take authority for yourself as well. The massage therapist can't do all the work. A big problem for people who have a large chest or large belly or both is that they don't have the back and core strength to carry their body vertical on this planet with gravity, and gravity is going to pull everything down, right? So we need to have strong backs and decently strong cores to carry ourselves comfortably. And by the way, a strong muscle and an open muscle go hand in hand together. Tight muscles tend to be weak muscles. So it's important that you get a mix of stretching and toning, and the toning should be for the core as well as the back, and even for the chest itself. The body is a whole, so we don't just target one thing. We target everything, but bring a little bit extra focus on what needs a little extra focus. So for today's practice, these are just a few tips, because like I said, almost every yoga video on my channel is going to be good for you. And essentially, actually, I will say on a side note that if you are searching for yoga teachers or yoga practices, people who have a lot of excess upper body weight or heavy chested weight, they are not really going to benefit from doing a really strong forward fold practice, meaning a lot of bending over like this. That's not going to be advantageous. Some done right is excellent. Too much not done right is disadvantageous. So please just keep in mind that what you need is you need back toning. You need to open the front of your body up. That means back bends, back toning. You need core, you need standing poses. These are the kinds of things that help us to maintain openness in the front, keep the posture good, and keep the back strong. Okay, so what we're going to need today actually are quite a lot of props. If you are large chested or have a big belly, you're going to want several blankets. I have here 5. You could even go as far as to have more than that if you're even bigger. And then we're going to need a wall. You're going to need a wall space, and you might want a strap or something like that. Okay, so we're going to start out first lying down on this set because I have it all set up, and we're going to do a pose called locust pose or Shalambhasana. And so what I have here is I have these two big blankets folded in this size. Remember, you could be using beach towels or, you know, kind of like woven area carpets. I have these two here. I have two that I went from this shape and folded into this shape. Those are on the sides and they're slightly angled, more narrow at the top and going wider. And then I have one here at the top, just folded. Okay, and so this setup is for people who would not be comfortable laying flat on your belly. If you're comfortable laying flat on your belly and it's not a problem for you to lay just on your belly, you don't need any of this unless you just want to play around. But if it's uncomfortable for you to lay flat on your belly, try this setup and then mess around with it. You know what they say, fuck around and find out, right? You're gonna mess around with it and adapt until you get things just right. That's the essence of working with props, is that the props are meant to meet you where you're at so that you don't have to contort yourself into a shape or a situation to be comfortable. The props meet you where you're at. That is what they're meant to do. Okay, so you're gonna mess around with what I've suggested until you are comfortable. Anyhow, carrying on. This big platform here is gonna go more so for me under the belly and hips. And then these two are for underneath the upper arms. And this one is just gonna go under my forehead while I'm face down. So what you can see what I've done is I've made a little hole for my chest so that my chest doesn't feel smushed. If you want this for your belly also, you would just move these two big blankets further down so they're below your belly. And that way you kind of create a little valley for your entire upper body. So one way or another, you're going to find yourself a position in which you're comfortable being face down, whether it's flat on the ground or on props as such. And then you're going to contract your hip muscles, your gluteal muscles, press your hips into the floor or into the blankets and feel your feet become light. And let the feet levitate away from the floor using your lower back and your gluteal muscles. And then we're going to raise the head up, and then you're going to raise the arms up, turn the palms to face each other. This is one of the most therapeutic poses, I think, of all of the poses for so many reasons, but it's excellent for building back strength. You can take a few breaths, let yourself rock a little bit perhaps. This is Shalabhasana. When your body cooks, just exhale, allow yourself to slowly land back down. Take a breath or two, and then we're going to repeat. So this time, let's reach the arms forward. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go right arm up, left leg, and head. And then release and go left arm, right leg, head. Do this a couple times. Remember to root down through the front of your hips. And then go all four limbs in your head. Exhale, press the hips into the mat or floor, and up all go. And then open up to a T, and then arms back. Draw the shoulder blades towards each other, palms facing each other, and imagine you're lifting the pinkies towards the ceiling. And then exhale and release. And let everything just relax. I would say that for people who are contending with carrying a lot of front body weight, this is one of the most important poses that you can do. Okay. Now, if you want to use a strap, what we're going to do next is we're going to clasp our hands behind our hips and you're going to straighten the elbows. However, some people will not be able to do this with the elbows straight. So if that's the case, you're going to place the strap across your hips, hold the strap between your hands, and straighten the elbows. I can clasp my hands, so I'm going to. And then I'm going to exhale, raise my head and chest up. while I'm lifting my hands away from my hips. So you can see my shoulder blades are really drawing together here. Breathe, press the hips firmly press the hips into the floor or blankets, and then exhale, release. Okay, you're going to push these two blankets that are under your arms out of the way. Just moving them off to the side, and the one under your head out of the way. And we're going to bring our forearms to the mat, elbows underneath our shoulders. I have my hands nice and wide, spreading the fingers and actually turning the hands slightly out. And I'm going to press my hips into the blanket or floor again. And then I'm just going to imagine I'm slightly dragging my forearms back towards my feet a little bit to help me lift up through the chest. This is this could be intense for some people, but it's a pretty simple yoga posture, little baby cobra. And then if you want, you can exhale and start to lift the elbows up a little bit. Remember to really root down through the hips. So you're really pressing those hips into the floor. And then release and exhale, come down. You can support your head on your hands. And sometimes it's really nice to windshield wiper the heels back and forth a little bit. Okay, one more time. Hands or elbows can come under the shoulders this time. Press the hips down and lift up. And remember, whatever is touching the floor here, hands or forearms, you're going to drag back a little. They don't really move. It's just the projection of the energy so that the chest can lift up. If you have low back issues, this often is very, very helpful, as well as it's excellent for toning your whole back. And then using the back muscles, slowly release down. Let yourself take a couple deep breaths and really breathe into that upper back and lower back, expanding with your inhale. And then letting all the bones converge on your exhale. Imagine that you're kind of massaging your back muscles with the bones moving as you breathe. Release any extra tension that you do not need. Let the jaw relax. Let the eyes relax. Good, and then we're gonna just actually come on up, so pushing yourself up with your hands. We're gonna squat for a second. So a lot of people will have a hard time squatting with their feet flat on the floor. I'll show you. I can't do it. Look, my heels come up. That's the best I can do right now. Maybe someday I'll get there, but I'm not quite there yet. So what I do is I just bring some blankets under my heels, so I let my heels sink down. Now, I understand that if you have a lot of upper body girth, that this may be uncomfortable. So what you would do in that case is, of course, you would just widen your feet and let the hips sink down so that you have room for your belly or chest, and then you could let the chin go. So we're going to take some deep breaths. Now, if this is too much on your ankles or on your knees or your hips or something like that, you could certainly be sitting on something, like you could use a yoga block and sit on a block and get the same effect, or a small stool would work. So you're essentially creating the same effect but with less pressure on the joints. You can just let the head relax. Breathe into the back body. Good. And then we'll take our feet off of the blankets if they're on the blankets. Exhale, come on up to standing. And we're going to stand in Tadasana for a second. So I want you to see on the profile that if I bring my weight to my heels and activate the back of my hands and the back of my arms, I get quite vertical here. If I don't bring the weight to my heels, I might pitch forward. And for those of us who are carrying extra weight on the front of our body, that pitching forward, I know firsthand that pitching forward could become habitual. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remind myself to bring my weight to my heels, draw the shoulder blades slightly together, not like, fiercely, but just together, slide them down the back, keep the chin level to the floor, and feel this vertical axis. So this is your body on verticality. It may feel a little odd to you, but this is a really good practice in and of itself because it's toning the extensors of the body. The extensors of the body are your back muscles, your tricep muscles, your quadricep muscles, and some others, the back of the hands, top of the feet. These are the muscles that hold us upright. So we really want them to have good tone, and we want to know what they feel like when we're on that vertical axis. Okay, so we can take these blankets out of our way now. And you're going to find a wall, and you're going to place your right hand on the wall so that the right hand is roughly at about shoulder height, maybe a little lower. And we're just going to do side push-ups with the hand against the wall. So you're going to do your best to keep your wrist, elbow, and shoulder in a line, and just allow yourself to tip towards the wall by bending the elbow and then extend. So doing this a handful of times, you can do this as many times as you want. This is a way to modify, starting to build some chest, pectoral, and shoulder tone here, as well as arm tone. So these things are important for keeping our back and neck comfortable. We want the muscles to have tone to support the skeleton. So after you've done it a handful of times, you could count off 10 or whatever you want. We're going to switch sides, and we'll do it on the left side as well. So be equal opportunity, of course. You can exhale when you're pushing away from the wall. Take that breath, and then exhale. Trying to keep the wrist, elbow, and shoulder all in a line. Notice I'm not really side bending the body. The body is staying pretty much one unit from head to ankles. And coming back. Okay, so then once you've done that a series of times, we're going to attempt to do this with both hands facing the wall. I don't have a good wall here. I'm going to do it with my back to you, but I have my hands about chest height, fingertips pointing up, and again, wrists, elbows, and shoulders all in a line. And what I'm going to do is when I bend my arms, I'm going to keep my elbows in line with my wrists and shoulders rather than letting them flare out. So we don't want to let the elbows flare out. We want to keep them in line, okay? So you have your position against the wall. You're going to stabilize your pelvis. So you're not letting your belly pop towards the wall or pressing your hips back. You're going to stabilize from the head to the heels. Take a breath, exhale, and just draw the elbows towards the wall and then push away. So do this a handful of times, maybe 10 times. So you're just practicing. This is like what we call chaturanga pose. It's just a way to start to build upper body strength and core strength. Remember, you're not letting your hips pop back or sag towards the wall. You're keeping the pelvis stabilized with your lower belly muscles. So after a handful of times, come back, release, and come back to that Tadasana pose. So feet parallel, weight to the heels, palms open. Enliven the back of your hands, the back of your arms, your quadriceps. You can let the chin be about level to the floor and just feel your vertical axis here. Good. And then let's inhale, stretch those arms up. And if you can clasp hands, palms to the ceiling. If you can't clasp hands, grab your left wrist and we're going to go over to the right. Great big stretch. And when you are stretching, try to feel these your arms projecting up and back a little bit. So you're really getting into that left side, but also opening up the front of the body. So I actually feel my belly stretch a little when I do this. And then you're going to switch, go to the other side, clasp your right wrist if you're clasping wrists. And come back. Exhale, nice sweep down. Use the back muscles to glide the shoulder blades down to lower the arms. And then when the arms are lowered, we're going to clasp hands behind us. And again, if it's not favorable for you to clasp your hands, use that strap that you might have, or it could be a dog leash, it could be a belt, it doesn't need to be a fancy yoga strap. Use the strap, give yourself whatever amount of space you require between your own hands so that your elbows are in full extension. That means no bend in the elbows. We're going to bring the weight to the heels, and you're really going to draw the shoulder blades together intentionally and feel them move down the back. And then from here, let's tip the head. I like to say tip it up. Tip it up and over to the left. So not, crushing the left side of your neck, lengthening the right side, and breathe into those muscles on the right side of your neck so that you're really bringing your concentration there. And release, and then tip up and over to the right. Release, and then release the strap, and just pause. You don't have to do anything here. You're just going to pause and stand for a couple breaths and feel the sensations in your neck, in your back, in your arms, and feel your posture. Good. So again, real quick, this is not a comprehensive full list of all the things you could do to help yourself. It's just a little snippet of a few powerful techniques that you could incorporate that are pretty easy to do, and you could easily incorporate into your day and your week. So again, check out all the videos on my channel. I really have a lot of things that are helpful, and I try to adapt the poses so that you can learn how to adapt them for your body wherever your body's at. It's not about doing what I do. It's about doing what's appropriate for you to do and learning what that is. That's what I aim to teach you. So I hope you got something out of this. If you did, you know all the things to do. You give it a little like. You could give it a comment. You could share it. You could subscribe to the channel. You know, right? So I appreciate so much. Thank you for spending your time with me. Namaste.